Vegas. And when we asked John, well, what's the process of getting on the shuttle in Las Vegas? John just laughed and he said, well, they've got it all figured out. What happens is they've got a big sort of shuttle terminus, which is underneath one of the main hotel casinos in Las Vegas. And what the employees do is they go in there in their casual clothes looking like tourists, and they get in the elevator shaft, and then they press a particular sequence of numbers in the elevator once they're in the elevator and once they're on their own, and the thing looks like a pin number, and then instead of going up to the 22nd floor, they go down to the 22nd floor and they catch the shuttle. And we thought this was really cool and really funny. And then we had this story confirmed by somebody else who we spoke to a couple of months later, who said that the hotel in question was the Luxor. And Kerry and I had a real laugh about that, because we thought, you know what, we really must go to the Luxor with a camera and get in one of these elevators and keep on punching numbers until we get the thing to go down.
Yeah, we have to figure out the code, but I think Henry could help us with that. So, Richard, let's continue with Richard here. Richard, why don't you talk about the bases that you're aware of that are in the United States? I know you know a lot about the undersea bases as well, and I think that some of the listeners won't know anything about the under-ocean bases.
Yes. Well, first, let me reiterate that I got into this when I moved out to go to graduate school in the southwest part of North America in 1989. And I heard people talking about alleged underground bases. I didn't know anything about it. I thought the stories were interesting. In 1992, I had a break in my academic schedule, and I took the opportunity to look into this issue in more detail. I went and did research, primary document research in the engineering and scientific record, looking through federal documents and other sources going back decades. And I did discover that a number of agencies and also private corporations, so-called Fortune 500 corporations, have made many underground facilities, installations, and bases all across the country. They've been at this for decades for a variety of reasons. Many of these installations are multi-purpose, even multi-agency, of varying levels of depth and size and complexity. And so I found out this, and I wrote up a short article then for UFO Magazine in Los Angeles, because when I first heard these stories, I had heard them in the secret underground base stories in the context of alleged facilities in the southwest part of the USA, where allegedly there were little gray aliens and clandestine elements of the United States military working together in great secrecy. Now, I couldn't prove whether that was true or not, and I still don't have any hard proof in that regard. But what I can say, and did say, was that there certainly are many underground facilities, and some of them indeed are quite large and quite complex and can accommodate large numbers of people, hundreds, even thousands of people in some cases, and they're very technologically sophisticated installations. So I said that in the article, which appeared over the holidays in 1992, and at that point I thought that I had been there and done that, that I had pretty well slam dunked the subject, and that I was through with the matter. Well, in reality, I had only just begun, unbeknownst to me. During the week between Christmas and New Year's of 1992, the last week of the year, I was awakened one night out of a sound sleep. Mind you, I don't drink alcohol, not at the holidays, not at any other time of the year. It's not a heroic virtue. I just don't like the taste of it. So I don't drink it. But, so I wasn't drunk. I wasn't hungover from a New Year's party or something like that. I was awakened out of a sound sleep in the middle of the night, and I wasn't quite sure why. I was very clear-minded. I wasn't groggy or drowsy, so I was laying there in the dark, looking up towards the ceiling, wondering, why am I awake? I was only awake maybe 5 seconds before I discovered why. I had an incoming transmission in my inner ear, which I heard very clearly, much clearly than I've heard you so far in our conversation. And I heard a voice, a man's voice speaking to me. He said very clearly, as clear as a bell, the underground bases are real. That was his opening line, and it certainly got my attention. And he went on to elaborate that there was really a major project underground with large numbers of people involved, high technology, lots of funding, lots of I'm getting some kind of electronic feedback here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Lots of technology, lots of people involved, different agencies and organizations and corporations, and that and also there was a note of high strangeness associated with all of this. And he told me that, in other words, it was like being clued into a real life science fiction reality beneath our feet. And as he was speaking, I was thinking, holy moly, that's amazing. All of that is down there, and it was just vast in scope. And so...
Okay, well, Richard, we're going to break now. This is fascinating. I had no idea that was how you clued into the reality of the underground bases, but that is a fascinating subject there. We are going to go to break. So this is Carrie Cassidy and Bill Ryan from Project Camelot and Whistleblower Radio, and we're on the line here with Dr. Richard Sauder. Richard, go ahead.
Yes, Carrie. Well, so I went and I did this research then based on what the voice had told me. And number one of the things I discovered, partially in with help from Dr. Helmut Lammer and his wife Marion, who wrote some excellent books in German, primarily on mind control technology and military UFO abductions. They unearthed a patent number, U.S. patent number 4,858,612, which essentially is a microwave brain transmitter. And I believe that is how I came to hear the voice in my ear. I think there was a real live flesh and blood person on the inside of this underground beehive that's underneath us, who saw the article I wrote in UFO Magazine and who contacted me inwardly using one of these clandestine brain microwave transmitters, which the special forces do have, and tried to spur me to research and write more on the topic, which I have done. Now, I will say you wanted to know where are underground facilities. There are a lot of them. Some of the better-known ones would be, of course, the big one at Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado, which is very well known. Sometimes you see it in movies. Then there's the big one at so-called Site R on the border between Maryland and Pennsylvania, which is run by the Pentagon. It's quite large, deep, and elaborate. FEMA has a whole suite of underground facilities all over the country. Well, let's see, Maynard, Massachusetts, Boston, Massachusetts, Washington, D.C., Round Hill, Virginia, Emmitsburg, Maryland, Charlottesville, then in Philadelphia, Olney, Maryland. They have a major underground command center in Olney, Maryland. I've spoken to a guy who was in there. He told me it was just jammed with electronic equipment, multiple levels with advanced electronics. Thomasville, Georgia, Chicago, Battle Creek, Michigan, Denton, Texas, north of Dallas. There's so many. Kansas City, Denver, Colorado, Presidio, California, Bothell, Washington, Fort Custer, Michigan, Santa Rosa, California, Richmond, Kentucky, Forest Park, Georgia, and Palo Pinto, Texas. There are many, many. Those are some that are known from the public record. And then there's some that you wouldn't expect right off. For example, one of the things that has been interesting to me as I have delved into this topic is that, of course, understand I'm a native Virginian.